Hey guys, how's it going? Matthew Cedillo here. And based on the thumbnail I'm using for this and the title, yeah, it is now officially 1 year post knee reconstruction surgery anniversary thing. Yeah, basically it's 1 year post surgery. Okay. For those of you that don't know, I tore my ACL and both my medial and lateral meniscus on my right knee while playing soccer. So I'll kind of talk about the way of the process of how things kind of played themselves out during, the journey, I guess. But I'm going to start talking about how it happened. I was playing soccer. I jumped less than a couple inches, and my knee just gave out, heard 2 pops, landed hard. And the only way I could describe the pain was fucking painful. Like, out of anything I've ever felt in my life, tearing ligaments have been the most painful. I mean, I've broken bones, and I've had various cuts, like deep cuts, I should say, from accidents, falls, and so forth. So I'm not new to pain, I'll tell you that. But initially there were 3 pops. 2 happened kind of simultaneously, and the other one kind of happened about a few moments right after. So what happened is, after the jump, I kind of landed, my knee just gave out, pop, and I started screaming at the top of my lungs because it felt very, very fucking painful. Not only that, but the other thing I should mention is that I kind of landed a little weird to the point where I landed on my side too. So I also had some hip pain, not too much. It was probably just the impact from just landing. Luckily, nothing happened to my hip. It was just my knee. But everyone who was there came towards me. They were asking am I okay? And I'm like, do I look okay? When I look at my knee, it's swollen. And they're trying to help me up. And one of the guys there suggested I put weight on it. I was like, at this, because it hurt like hell, And he kind of helped me to stand a little bit. And that's when the 3rd pop happened. And he lets go, and I just fall back. He wasn't doing it to be an asshole or a dick. He was just trying to help me, But that's besides the point. So I basically get driven home, and then from home I get driven to the hospital. The hospital, they took an x-ray, and the nurse that had kind of helped me through, the x-ray was like, hey, I think that you might not have torn anything because nothing's coming up in the x-ray. But keep in mind, ligaments don't come on the x-ray. Sometimes some cartilage. I may be giving a little bit of misinformation, but that's what I heard over the years. And at this point, I could sort of bend it, not fully, but enough to kind of now move it a little bit, and I could put some weight to it. It sucked, but she gave me some hope, because she's like, oh, well, I mean, you're able to move it a little bit now. You're able to kind of hobble around without too much of an issue. Like, there was still an issue because it still fucking hurt. But she was like, hey, there's some hope. Maybe you didn't tear anything. Could be just the IT band, because I was also talking about a little bit of pain that I had in my hip. She's like, it'll probably just be that. You'll just need physical therapy or whatever. Just contact this number, and they'll set you up with a specialist or something. Just call in a few weeks, so things could work. Fast forward to a week before finals. I talked to one knee specialist, Dr. Ganad. And at this point, because my knee is still swollen, but I'm able to walk around a lot and put weight and still do stuff. Like, I can't really run. I was just walking, right? So, she's like, you can't fully bend it and can't fully keep it straight without feeling discomfort, or like something else might, snap, crackle, pop. So she's like, I want you to take an MRI. And I took the MRI. And then after that, I went to school, finished up the finals for that particular class, and then I had the next week I had my last 2 classes for finals, and also I had my final performance for the director showcase, which, for those of you guys who don't know, I do acting, and I was doing it a lot more in college because it's kind of hard to find an opportunity right now, especially with the pandemic, but that's besides the point. So when it was my final performance, and I didn't even know it was going to be my final performance because of what would happen later on because of the pandemic. But after that, I just came home, dropped off my stuff, went to a bar with some friends, got plastered like not any, but most college students when finals are done. You're like, oh, everything's done. Now I could, just enjoy, right? Well, went home, was slightly what kind of felt a little hungover. I get a phone call, and they're like, "Hey Matthew, are you there?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, what's up?" And at this point, I'm like, just like from all the alcohol consumption. So please drink responsibly, whatever. They're like, we have some bad news for you. I'm like, what do you mean? Well, you kind of tore your ACL. So at that point, my face just dropped, and I'm like, no, fuck, no. And she's like, oh, that's not the only bad news. I'm like, wait, there's more. Now anxiety really hits in because in my head, I'm thinking, shit, I can no longer play soccer. I can no longer be active. I can no longer do biking. It's just like a whirlwind of fucking emotions, but I'm keeping composed. But in the back of my head, I'm just really panicking. And they're like, you tore your meniscus too. And I'm like, great, fucking great. I mean, this isn't towards you, ma'am. It's just, this is too much to process. I don't know what to do. And a lot of stuff in my personal life was not going well either. So this was like kind of the last little bit thing for me to just... She's like, well, we could set you up with a specialist and, you know, you guys could talk about options. But if I were you, I would consider taking surgery for those torn ligaments. And I was like, okay, I'll see what I could do. Called the mom, let her know. And she called my dad and my brother who were in Mexico to let them know what the hell's going on. But at that day, I was just beyond, beyond gone, you know. It sucked. The next day after that was Sunday, so my anxiety really came up, and I was just looking on the internet to see what would happen, certain procedures, to kind of just know what would go on. First, I looked at the meniscus tear because I thought the meniscus would be the most crucial of all the ligaments in my knee because it's a two-parter and there's various types of tears for it. But it turned out to be the ACL that I kind of looked at a little differently because I was like, okay, maybe that's kind of slight. There's some, I mean, that one might not be too bad, right? And then I did even more research on ACL reconstruction. I'm like, oh, so they're going to graft it. And in my head, I'm thinking, great, a graft is essentially cheese grating. What the hell could they... Oh, they got to basically cut a little bit of the top bone of my knee and a little bit of the bottom bone and then cheese grate my patella tendon to make the new ligament and use some screws to keep it in place. Great. This is going to go bad in so many ways. Monday comes in. I go talk to another specialist, and he's like, my name's Dr. Vermont. Good to have you on board. Listen, there's no way around it. You want to play soccer again. You want to be able to be active, and you're young. Get the surgery. I wanted to say, are there other options? But at this point, desperation hit. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, let's do it. He's like, okay, cool. It's going to be less invasive. It'll be the equivalent of having some bullet holes. And I'm like, okay. Humor. I could deal with that. Cool. He's a cool dude. When can we get this done? He's like, oh yeah, well, let's see. I think I have an opening in late January. I'm like, that part is not really much of an option because I'm a college student and that's my final semester of college. Is there any way we could, schedule something a little bit earlier? And he's like, well, let me give you the information of one of my colleagues. His name's Dr. Chala. Here you go. But again, if I were you, I'm like, yeah, at this point I'm taking the surgery. I just need to talk to this other specialist. I call him up. There's a gap date, and then I had to come in the next day. And Dr. Chala, coolest dude you could talk, have do the surgery. Super chill. We'll crack a joke. And he's very, very caring. So if you ever need him to repair shoulders, knees, and hips, he'll be your guy. And I'll make sure I post his public his public Instagram so you can follow him. But yeah, he's like, you want to play soccer? You want to go back to doing what you love or doing the surgery? I was like, okay. He's like, when I heard that you didn't want to do it late January, you want to do it early? I'm like, yeah. When can we do it? Day after Christmas. I was like, cool, I could do that. Just my colleague will tell, because there was someone taking notes, or one of his assistants, I can't really remember. She was like, well, the day before the surgery, you can't eat anything, you can't drink anything, so nothing happens on the surgery table. And I'm like, okay, cool, not a problem. Fast forward to Christmas. I was like, yikes. The food's there, the booze and liquids. I'm like, crap, I gotta hold out. I can't eat, you know. And then fast forward to surgery day. I come in and I'm waiting for a few hours because there was another patient ahead of me getting, I think, something done to his shoulder. But the whole time that I'm waiting, I'm keeping quiet. I'm just super anxious, and I'm just staring into space, just hoping that this could just get done. And I just feel like my anxiety is just rising, and I'm keeping my composure as best as I could. My mom's trying to like get me to talk, but I'm like so distraught because I'm like, what if the surgery doesn't work? Like, there's always that what if, you know, which is not a good thing to think about. But at the time, I was just all over the place, you know. So they finally get me in. I get the surgery done, and when it finished, Jesus Christ, I was like, I don't know what fucking hurt worse, the post surgery or the fucking injury. Like, no mames, man. Chingao. I just remember them telling me, like, you know, Matthew, wake up, you know, something. I'm like, shit. Don't believe me? You could ask my mom if you ever see her in public, like how that went. And I said that in my own words, you know. Shit. They're like, do you want the nerve block? I'm like, can I please get the nerve block? For those of you who don't know, the nerve block basically is supposed to block out major pain. And the needle, if I remember right, was about this big, not super thick, but just from looking at that intimidating size or gauge on the needle, I was like, and they're trying, like, here's the thing, I could take an injection or take out blood, but I'm just looking at this damn thing like this, and then my mom says something, I look, and they shoot in my leg, and I'm like, oh. And at this point, they're like, we need you to walk a little bit. And I'm like, I'm in pain, you guys want me to walk? They're like, here's a walker, and we're going to get you to the wheelchair and roll you off. Okay. Now, they also gave me some exercises to do to kind of get ready for, you know, physical therapy. But the weight of the car sucked. I will tell you that it sucked. Because, to the wheelchair, to be exact, before the car, I'm basically swearing Spanish like, ay, chinga, puta madre, me duele, no mames, pinche dolor, hijo de la verga. The nurse is like, oh my God, what's he saying? And my mom was like, think of American swear words, but in Spanish. She's like, oh. Again, and, you know, I get rolled to the car. I get brought here to my home. I get left in my room. And the only thing I'm thinking about is this is going to be me for a few weeks. And even when I am able to walk around, I'm going to be limited because I'm still in crutches and this long knee stabilizer. So it didn't really help the fact that my anxiety was getting me, but also the fact that I'm still having all these thoughts about, like, shit's going to go bad. Shit's going to suck. I may never even play soccer again, even if the doctor said, just all the what ifs. And that's not a good thing to think about. So I was still kind of high from the anesthetic. And I ended up calling one of my cousins up, and she kind of talked to me. And then I contacted one of my friends who I've known for quite a while, and she kind of helped me out a little bit. My mom comes back with Vicodin, and because I was prescribed the Vicodin, the only thing I could say about the Vicodin was it clogs you. Aside from the fact that you could probably get addicted to it, that's why they kind of wean you off after a certain amount of days. Yeah, if you have to use the bathroom, you can urinate, but you can't shit. Like, you will get clogged, and prune juice is probably your best friend at that point. Going back to that, sorry for the retracing, that's my ADHD talking, but whatever. One thing that you should note is that the first 42 or 47, I don't fucking know, just the first 2 days are going to be hell. They're the most painful right after surgery. And, you know, you're just trying to do your pre-physical therapy, and you're told to walk, bend your knee, clench your, your quads so you could activate it, and then kind of put some weight into it. Fast forward to my first post-op check. They basically just were looking at the sutures that they put in to see that there was no infection and, you know, the usual, right? Second post-op, they basically removed the sutures, and it was weird because the little tips that are in the sutures themselves are supposed to come off, over time. 2 came out in different days, and then the last 3 that were on the bottom part of my knee came out literally just from me slightly bending it. It just went ping, ping, ping. I'm like, no pain from any of that. It just felt weird. And I was so cautious about it that I was like, you know what, I'm probably just gonna put my bandage over that to kind of make sure, like at this point, it's solid enough so you don't have to worry about liquids or particles or anything going in. And then now is probably the part where I talk about the rehabilitation. For me, it felt like 3, maybe even 4 phases, but the first phase is probably the hardest because my physical therapist, Leah, she basically was like, this is what's going to happen. It's going to be a process. Just know that you're not alone. Anything you need to talk about in terms of your knee, we got you, and we also got a direct line to your doctor. Which was totally cool. Probably one of the things I look forward to aside from school, and I know that this is stupid on my end because I was never an academic person, but after being in home for a set amount of weeks, aside from having to register for school, I needed to just be out of the house, be out of, just being outside of a certain location so I could kind of just not feel too crazy and, within my own head about certain things, The first few sessions of physical therapy, it's clenching. They put these electrodes in your quad to activate it. The electrodes weren't really a pain in the ass. I was okay with them. Just, having to get my knee to fully extend was kind of hectic because they didn't get fully there. So what she did was get what I call the medieval torture device. It's this thing that you put your whole leg in and it has air and you push it down so the knee could actually kind of get that full flexion. I hated it. That was out of all the physical therapy things, I hated that because my knee did not want to stay completely straight. So it took a while to get the complete flexion in. But the bending stuff seemed easy because the thing is, I'm a guitar player, so I can't play standing up. I'll play sitting down and, I'll rest my knee and I kind of bend it. So bending was never really much of an issue. I was just keeping it straight. Phase 2, we got into more stuff that kind of revolved around adding, my memory's a little jumbled, but if I remember right, adding certain exercises where I can kind of pre-jogging a little bit, but mostly just trying to get the movement and keeping straight without hobbling off. Balance more than anything. Balance was probably the whole part of part 2. Part 3, now we're adding in, the treadmill, which was the zero gravity treadmill, and then the elliptical. Phase 4, a lot more jumping and incorporating some stuff where I could actually now do soccer stuff, But in between like phase 2 and 3, I got back to driving and I was able to bike. So thing that I would recommend when you are in your early phase, know that the first part's gonna be tough, but try to see if you could talk to some people to kind of just help you out through the process. Like I had my soccer team, my close friends to kind of just keep me going. Any like little victory you have in physical therapy is a major plus. It keeps you motivated to keep going forward. But also the other thing that I had motivating me was the fact that I'm a captain. So I'm like, now I really have to get better. I have to take this serious and I got to do stuff to kind of be at the level where I want to be at. My physical therapy ended in late June, I believe. Late June, early July. 6 months. And that's because my insurance at the time kind of only gave me a set amount of appointments. I still keep contact with my physical therapy team, Leah, Kaycee, some of the people from the front desk, and I follow my surgeon on Instagram. But that's besides the point. I attribute all of my one sec. Don't worry, I'm not sick with COVID. I attribute all my success on being able to complete physical therapy and being able to get back to a good level to, anyone who would help me out with my knee, whether it be, my surgeon, my physical therapist team, my friends, just anyone who has been part of this journey. I owe them a lot. After that, I went to get one more appointment with my doctor. He's like, oh yeah, in a few months you should be good. And he had me do an athletic screening, which basically they put like, same thing, similar to the electrodes, but they're kind of like, similar to that of a mocap suit, where they kind of monitor your, strengths, your weaknesses, how you would kind of do certain exercises, and they'll tell you like, hey, you could go back or you can't go back. I was supposed to have 2, but I only got 1, and that's because my insurance had faded by my birthday, which was around month 9, which literally, if I'm basing it off of what was said about the whole process of recovery, it'd be 9 months to about a year. And I was able to do training before month 9, like around month 8 and 7. I was doing soccer training with some of my teammates. But I did the screening, and the guy's like, hey, I believe that you're going to go back. And the thing is, I feel like you should probably be back at the same level that you were playing before this happened. Because some of the things I was told was I was able to start kind of running at a good pace. Not too early, but early enough where it's like, okay, you're confident you could do this, and I could do some jumping. Not a lot, but enough to kind of start gaining confidence and all that. And being physically active and being able to bike around, that was kind of what helped my knee probably to recuperate a little fast. Downside is, should mention this, I did take steroids for post-surgery, but that was only for like the first 2 months. Downside of some surgeries that I heard is that you do gain some weight down the line because of your excess need of wanting to take protein in. But my little bit of weight gain did not come from that. It came from kind of being in the quarantine. Because if quarantine wasn't going on, I'd be going to the gym almost every other day and still playing soccer. I'm playing soccer now, but the thing is, I never got my final appointment with my surgeon because of my insurance running out. So I got a new one now. It's not great, but it's a start, 1 year post-op. What I can say is that I'm able to run. I'm able to jump. The degrees in knees, pretty good. The only thing I still can't fully do is kneel on the knee that had surgery. I can kneel fine on like when I mean kneel, I mean like legit taking a knee on the bad knee, unless I'm in a certain position. I mean, you can't really see it, but I'm doing it on the good knee. So kind of being able to be like that. If I do it on this one, it's still some discomfort, but not a lot like it was early on. But what I can say is I've gotten enough confidence to do stuff playing soccer. I was able to play a tournament, and if my surgeon is watching this, I'm sorry, Dr. Chala, I could not get my final approval, but I hope that maybe you could clear me through an email or something. But at this point, it's now officially been a year since the surgery, and I'm just basing it off of just the whole 9 months to a year thing. I'm able to run at a good pace and pretty fast. Just not super, super fast, but fast enough. Which is not too bad because I'm a defender. I'm always in the back, but I will go in the front sometimes. And for the cochinos out there about to say some sex joke in the comments, no, not like that, fool. I guess I'll probably just now show you the scar. It's kind of hard to kind of roll up my jeans because I wear skinny jeans. And my legs is a little hammy. Okay. There we go. As you can see, there's a scar. Don't mind the difference in leg hair from the scar down because I do shave my quads. And I have another scar on this knee, but that's from when I was a kid. Didn't tear or break anything there. It was just a scar from some schoolyard shit. We were playing soccer in a bad field and there were rocks and I got clipped. Whatever. Point is, that's my journey. That's been my journey up to this point. I'll probably make another one of these maybe 5 years down the line to talk about how do I feel and all that. If any of you guys know anything to kind of help the kneeling situation / taking a knee on the surgically repaired knee, please let me know in the comments. And that's about it. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe if you want to share, I guess, share. If any of you have had, ACL or any knee reconstruction surgeries, share your story, I guess. But that's all for now, and I'll see you guys later. Se cuidan.